Hi guys, Dan the Wolfman here, and I'm going to do a little bit of a pseudo rebuttal video to my friend hrfunk. My video on my Revolver collection went live today. His video on do old guns suck for self-defense video just went live, and he always makes great points. And I have a few counterpoints and a couple reasons why, because I kind of bridge the gap in age, that the younger crowd is, oh, they suck. And we'll get into that. Mostly that's because of their laziness and their inability to, actually clean guns, which isn't always fun and is time consuming. But that is actually one of the biggest reasons with a lot of them. The other is the obsession with capacity, and I'm kind of an in-between guy when it comes to that. Quite a few instances where I've needed a gun, put my hand on the grip, I never felt like I wanted less capacity, so there is that. But let's talk about the pistols primarily, and then the rifle that hrfunk showed in his video. So originally he starts with a Smith & Wesson Model 19. 6-shot, 357 Magnum for the preponderance of self-defense circumstances, and I do think that's changing. And as Gun Sam just pointed out, commenting on my Revolver collection, you may want the most effective round. And most effective round for years, according to everybody, was the 125 grain semi-jacketed hollow point 357 Magnum cartridge. And I would say that's from a 3-inch or longer barrel to get those great ballistics, about 1,440 to 1,485 feet per second. Gun Sam will have a video soon. I sent him some of these old school Federal rounds, so subscribe to Gun Sam to go check that out. And he's right about that. Most likely scenario, you're going to want those powerful rounds to stop the bad guy, most likely up close and personal, as quickly as possible. So could a Smith & Wesson Model 19 still be viable? Well, of course, especially if you train with it and become a good shot with it. Could the capacity become a factor in some instances? And I do think that's going up. Yes. I don't really feel comfortable unless I got 11 rounds in gun, personally, and at least 9. Because at least 3 shots per 3 bad guys is pretty likely that there's 2 or 3. And I've had instances where it's been more. It's been about half and half in my personal circumstances, where it would have been a solo attacker, or if it was 2 or 5 armed attackers. So, could a Model 19 still do it? Yes. There's other things that do it more efficiently, and I'm talking about weight. Yes. We're talking 34 to 38 or more ounces for a good revolver of 6, 7, 8 round capacity to carry. I know Smith & Wesson makes that little snub, but that's really expensive with the cadmium, adamantium, unobtainium that they, occasionally still put out. So it's heavy for its capacity. Okay, so that's the argument for that, and that is a pretty valued argument. Because even Howard may carry that, 4 to 6 times a year for the kicks, or a 40-ounce full-size, 42-ounce full-size 1911. But on most days, he admits it's a Hellcat or a J-frame. So there's that. And that's why a lot of people say maybe you get those striker-fired, boring, black plastic or green plastic pistols. And there's a lot to be said for that. Next up on the table was, I think he went to the high power before he went to the 1911. Okay, the high power. I've always wanted one. I've never owned one. And I recently held a TSUS that I was considering, but I couldn't swipe off the manual thumb safety reliably enough that I would carry it. Even if I train myself to sweep off the thumb safety, which as I get older, I've kind of considered I might go to 1911, high power, an HK, cocked and locked, something that I can do cocked and locked with the proper sweeping down the safety to disengage it, manual of arms on the frame, not the slide. So the high power is a no for me until I get my hands on the Springfield's version, because they enlarged it and made it more kind of audible, tactile. Once I feel one of those, then maybe one day I'll get a Springfield, and maybe one day in the future I'll switch over to 1911, high power, etc. So to me, it's not, does this gun function, but does it function modern when you're surprised by guys that were hiding behind the car at Walmart, and they're two guys with guns coming up at you, and you got to draw an accordion and get them accordion and get the F away from you, as hopefully you're making accurate shots. If I can't manipulate the manual arms quickly enough, then it really isn't viable. And then there's the weight factor as well. So high power, about 30 to 32 ounces, maybe 33.8, you know, depends in there. Above 32 ounces, even above 30 is getting pretty heavy. Even 28 is getting pretty heavy compared to other stuff you could carry. 32 is definitely doable with a good belt, a good holster. But kind of when you get above that, as you load it up with 15 plus 1 in the modern version, or even 13 plus 1 in the older version, you know, the weight's getting up there. Then you got the sights. Older ones just have little nubs. Older 1911s, just little nubs. Little nubs don't cut it for me. Even if you painted it orange, it's not tall. Little nubs for modern self-defense don't cut it when you have so many better options. Okay, I like a big front orange night sight for a carry gun. So, as I'm going to talk about in some upcoming or just past excess night sight videos. So that's a big problem with the high power. Okay, maybe that's gotten corrected with Springfield's new version, and I believe both me and hrfunk would really like to get one Springfield. So there's that. Then the 1911. The biggest problem with the 1911 to me is the GI models. I need a more updated version, primarily with the extended beaver tail grip safety, to make sure 100% reliably I'm depressing that grip safety. And oh my God, drawer, I'm carrying groceries, it could be a one-hand lifted shirt draw. I need an extended beaver tail grip safety. I would not carry a GI model. So this is the middle of the ground there. Will 1911 still work? Yes. Will it still work reliably? Only if you train yourself to, that's the gun you carry all the time or something like it, where you're sweeping off that thumb safety, and it has an extended beaver tail grip safety. Now, bigger, maybe ambidextrous, maybe not, external thumb safety, that probably helps as well. So to me, even on a cheaper version like a Rock Island, I'm not going to get the low budget GI model. I'm going to go up to the combat model or whatever the various manufacturers call it, to have updated, you know, 3-dot type of sights, and maybe I could swap out that front sight for a night sight. Maybe I could put it black marker in the rear white dots that I really don't want in my visual field, and there we go on the 1911. Weight, 40, 42 ounces. You're not really going to carry that more than a couple times a year. That means commander size, which the shorter you go in a 1911, the less reliable it is. Typically, okay? Typically. I'm not talking about a Wilson Combat that's been tuned and you're changing out the recoil spring every 500 to 700 rounds, but something that can go 1,000, 2,000 rounds without you worrying about that recoil spring. When's the last time I changed it? 4 1/4 to me, a commander size is still reliable if you make it reliable. And making a 1911 reliable is number 1, magazines, number 2, the extractor. Number 1, magazines like a Wilson Combat magazine. Number 2, and I'm not saying other magazines won't work or whatever, but for carry, you want a Wilson Combat or other high-level magazine that works good in a McCormick or whatever. And you got to make sure that extractor's working good and the extractor tension's good and all of that. Then it's rounds. It was designed for a specific Olgov roundness, specific overall length, but mostly the Olgov. That's very important, full metal jacket rounds. You have to make sure it's going to function with the hollow points you choose to carry. The best one, according to everybody, is going to be a Golden Saber, and unfortunately, I don't think Vista's got Remington fired back up other than making ball ammo right now in a lot of ways. You're going to want that 230 grain, or I like the 185 plus P Golden Saber. Other than that, I don't know yet. Maybe one day Ruger will send me a lightweight commander, and then I can, function test it with the tiny bit I got left of those, or I can find, or maybe critical duty because of the rounded profile. There's a very specific angle, 39.5 degrees, whatever, that commanders or that 1911s were based on. So it's feed angle, magazine lips. There's a lot involved, and that requires more cleaning. Well, that doesn't make it through a 600 round class. As Ken Hackathorn said, I only needed to make it through 3 magazines, the one on the gun and possibly the 2 I got on my hip. There's a lot to be said for that, and that's something that, like, younger guys, like active self-protection, whatever, badmouth. Well, I can go home and clean my gun after a 100-round range session, okay? And that's probably what you're going to want to do if you're going to carry that 1911. There's also modern 2011s. I have an older, very first kind of model of a 2011, and it's almost reliable enough now for me to carry once I got new magazines and a new recoil spring. So you got to put some work into it with something like a 1911, or find one that is light enough for carry, because even a lot of companies commander size 38 ounces still. You want that 29 to 32 ounces, which is a little harder to find. You gotta do some thinking. You gotta do more maintenance and more cleaning. You gotta have a good magazine, make sure that extractor's good primarily. Those are the main things besides all that, and then make sure you have a round that functions, whether you use ball. You maybe don't want the cheapest that's shorter and has the wrong curvature, even though they look the same. You got to really look at them. Or a good hollow point like a Golden Saber, or maybe critical duty. And I'm just suggesting that that might work if you function test it yourself in your own pistol. Then he went on to his PPKS. Little nub, very heavy for the weight, very heavy for the capacity. He got that after in his live stream. I said, I want to get my hold of a Manhurin, a French-made 32 caliber PPS. I've never gotten in a 32 caliber, and I want an MR73 revolver someday, but I can't afford it. So I was hoping I actually have a box. Now I have an old box I got for 1 penny and $9 shipping. I got a 1 penny Manhurin PP box. Just saying, I'm getting there. Anyway, heavy, low capacity, bad sights, heavy, long trigger pull, etc. Do I think as long as you follow the ABCs, like Denzel knows and a lot of us know to do, always be carrying, that's the most important thing. And if you only got a 40 ounce, 42 ounce commander, 38 ounce, 36 ounce revolver, you may not do that. So they have points, but it's not so black and white, and this video is kind of show you the gray in between. I got to make sure it's a version that's light enough for carry. I got to make sure it's got a good magazine, or a newer high-powered Magar magazines, or a Wilson Combat in a 1911. I got to make sure that it functions right with that ammo that I'm going to use. And you got to clean it more often. Maybe you can extend that to 300 rounds before cleaning. Maybe you're only comfortable carrying it after 100 rounds, but no, you're not going to go to a 1,000-round class or a 6,000 or a 10,000. You're not going to put that kind of round count like you would with a striker-fired block that you ignore. Anyway, please thumbs up, share, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, and hopefully this gives a little better balance to the debate. Let me know down below. Thanks, everybody. Cheers.